Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Vivek Ramaswamy sat on opposite ends of Stephen Colbert's interview couch Thursday night, the tension palpable from the moment they were introduced. The Late Show had advertised this as a civilized debate between rising stars of both parties, but the electricity in the Ed Sullivan Theater suggested otherwise. Stephen started diplomatically. He said, "We have AOC and Vivek Ramaswamy here to discuss the future of American politics. Two young voices with very different visions. Let's keep it respectful, folks." The first 10 minutes went smoothly enough. They debated economic policy, with Vivek pushing deregulation while AOC advocated for stronger safety nets. Standard ideological differences presented civilly. Then Stephen shifted topics. He said, "Let's talk about social issues. Vivek, you've been critical of what you call gender ideology. AOC, you're a strong advocate for trans rights. How do we bridge this divide?" Vivek straightened, launching into what seemed like a prepared statement. He said, "Look, Stephen, I believe in truth. Biological truth. And the truth is there are two genders, determined by chromosomes. We're doing young people a disservice by pretending otherwise." AOC remained composed, but her jaw tightened. She said, "What we're doing a disservice to young people is denying their existence and humanity. Trans kids have a right to be seen and supported." Vivek leaned forward, his entrepreneur's confidence on full display. He said, "But we're talking about children making irreversible decisions. We're talking about ideology overriding biology. That's not compassion, it's confusion." Confusion? AOC's voice gained an edge. "The only confusion is from politicians who use vulnerable kids as political pawns, who spread fear about people they've never met." Stephen tried to moderate. He said, "Let's explore this more." But Vivek was rolling now. He said, "It's not fear, it's facts. We have girls losing scholarships to biological males. We have women's spaces being invaded. We have children being medicalized for normal adolescent confusion. Someone needs to speak truth." AOC turned to face him fully. She said, "Truth? You want to talk about truth? The truth is trans youth have a 40% attempted suicide rate when rejected by their families. The truth is gender-affirming care saves lives. The truth is you're spreading dangerous misinformation." Vivek smiled condescendingly. He said, "See, this is the problem. Any disagreement with the narrative is called dangerous. Any defense of biological reality is called hate. It's emotional manipulation, not argument." "Emotional manipulation?" AOC's voice rose. Says the man who just called trans women biological males invading spaces. "You're not defending reality. You're manufacturing panic." The audience was riveted. This was getting real. Vivek pressed on. He said, "I'm stating facts. If stating that men can't become women is panic, then reality itself is panic. We've gone so far down the rabbit hole that truth sounds radical." AOC stood up suddenly. Stephen looked alarmed. She said, "You know what's radical? Denying health care to kids who need it. Forcing trans people to live as someone they're not. Using the power of government to erase people's existence. That's radical." Vivek stood too, maintaining his calm demeanor. He said, "No one's erasing existence. We're preventing child abuse. Letting kids chemically castrate themselves isn't healthcare, it's mutilation. Stop." AOC's voice filled the theater. "Just stop. You're doing exactly what demagogues always do. Taking vulnerable people and turning them into monsters. Trans kids aren't castrating themselves. They're trying to survive in a world where people like you tell them they're freaks." Stephen weakly tried to intervene. He said, "Let's all take a breath." But AOC was fully unleashed now. She walked closer to Vivek. "You want to talk about child abuse? Child abuse is conversion therapy. Child abuse is forcing kids to deny who they are. Child abuse is politicians making medical decisions for families they've never met." Vivek maintained his businessman smile. He said, "This is exactly the emotional response that prevents rational discussion. Rational. AOC laughed bitterly. You think it's rational to obsess over other people's genitals? To spend your time attacking kids who just want to pee in peace? To build a political career on making life harder for people who already face discrimination? She turned to the audience. This is what they do. They take trans kids, kids who are already bullied, already struggling, and they turn them into political bogeymen. They spread lies about surgeries that aren't happening. They create bathroom panic over people who just want to exist. This is the moment when calculated cruelty meets righteous fury. When someone who targets the vulnerable finally faces someone willing to fight back. This confrontation shows why we need voices that refuse to let bigotry hide behind pseudoscience, that call out fear-mongering for what it is. Vivek tried to regain control. He said, I'm simply defending parental rights and biological truth. Parental rights? AOC spun on him. You mean the government's right to override parents who support their trans kids? And biological truth? You mean your cherry-picked, outdated understanding that ignores actual medical consensus? She pulled out her phone. Here's the American Medical Association supporting trans healthcare. Here's the American Psychological Association. Here's the American Academy of Pediatrics. But sure, businessman Vivek knows better than every major medical organization. Vivek's composure finally cracked. He said, those organizations have been captured by ideology. There it is. AOC pointed at him. Every institution that disagrees with you is captured. Every doctor who helps trans kids is ideological. Every parent who loves their trans child is abusive. Do you hear yourself? Stephen tried once more. He said, maybe we should. No, AOC cut him off. We shouldn't move on. We shouldn't pretend this is normal political disagreement. This man is spreading fear and hatred about children. Children, Stephen. And we're supposed to debate it like it's tax policy. She walked right up to Vivek. You know what you're really afraid of? You're afraid that gender isn't as simple as you thought. You're afraid that people might be happier living authentically than following your rules. You're afraid of change, so you attack children who represent it. Vivek's voice turned cold. He said, I'm afraid of a society that's lost touch with reality. Reality. AOC's voice boomed. Reality is trans people exist. Have always existed. In every culture, throughout history. Reality is that gender-affirming care reduces suicide rates. Reality is that your fear-mongering kills kids. She pulled up more on her phone. Brianna Gay, murdered at 16 for being trans. Next Benedict, dead after bathroom assault. These are the consequences of your rhetoric. When you dehumanize people, others take it as permission to harm them. Vivek tried to respond. He said, that's an outrageous connection. Is it? AOC interrupted. You call trans women men invading spaces. Then someone attacks a trans woman in a bathroom. You say trans kids are being mutilated. Then parents lose custody for supporting their children. You spread fear. Violence follows, and you pretend there's no connection? The audience was completely silent now. The weight of her words hung in the air. Stephen, visibly uncomfortable, said, this is getting very intense. Good, AOC said. It should be intense. We're talking about kids' lives. We're talking about whether people have the right to exist as themselves. That's not a calm conversation topic. Vivek made one last attempt. He said, you're proving my point about emotional manipulation. And you're proving mine about intellectual cowardice, AOC shot back. It's easy to be rational about other people's oppression. It's easy to be logical when it's not your existence being debated. Try being trans for one day and see how rational you feel. She gathered her things. I'm done legitimizing this. Done pretending bigotry deserves a platform if it uses big words. Done acting like attacking vulnerable kids is just another political position. As she headed for the exit, Vivek called after her, running away from debate. AOC turned back one last time. I'm not running from debate. I'm refusing to participate in dehumanization. There's a difference. You want to debate whether trans people deserve rights? Whether kids deserve health care. Whether humans deserve dignity. Find someone else. I won't help you normalize cruelty. She looked at Stephen. And shame on you for platforming this as entertainment. These are real kids' lives, not content for your monologue. Do better. Her final words to the audience. To every trans person watching, every parent of a trans kid, everyone who's been told they're not real or valid or deserving of respect. You are. Don't let anyone, not businessmen or politicians or talk show segments, tell you otherwise. You deserve to exist. You deserve to thrive. And we'll keep fighting until everyone understands that. She walked off to massive applause. The show never recovered. Vivek tried to continue alone, but his talking points sounded hollow after AOC's passionate defense. Stephen looked shell-shocked, struggling through the remaining segments. Within minutes, hashtag AOC Defends Trans Kids was trending worldwide. The clip went mega-viral, becoming a rallying cry for trans rights supporters. Major medical organizations released statements supporting AOC's facts. Trans youth organizations reported record donations. Parents of trans kids shared their stories, thanking AOC for standing up. Vivek tried to spin it on social media, calling AOC unhinged and anti-science. But the responses were brutal. Even some conservatives admitted he'd come off as cruel rather than concerned. AOC posted later, "I don't regret walking off. When someone attacks kids for political gain, debate legitimizes harm. Trans rights are human rights. Trans kids deserve love, support, and health care. Anyone who says otherwise is spreading fear, not facts." The incident became a watershed moment in the trans rights conversation. Not because minds were changed overnight, but because someone finally refused to politely debate humanity. Months later, at a LGBTQ+ youth event, AOC reflected, "That night on Colbert reminded me why we can't always be civil. Some things aren't up for debate. Kids' lives aren't political footballs. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is refuse to pretend otherwise." The revolution wasn't in winning the argument. It was in refusing to have it. It was in saying some things are too precious to debate. It was in protecting kids by refusing to let their existence be questioned. Even on late-night TV. Especially on late-night TV.